Says Michael Popok, Legal AF, do you know the difference between $780 million and $50 million? If you do, you should be running Fox Corp instead of Rupert Murdoch, because he's so underestimated, according to a new book that's just out, an expose just out, so underestimated the exposure and liability to the company, Fox Corporation, a company that's not just owned by the Murdoch family, but owned by thousands and thousands of other investors, including pension funds and major institutional investors who have now sued the Fox family, the Murdoch family, the board, related to their mismanagement and breach of fiduciary duties related to these defamation and liability cases, but more fundamentally, the heart of their business model, which is to say anything on television for the ratings without regard to whether it's true or false, and to invite by this business model, terrible business model, defamation suits that cost the company hundreds of millions of dollars in legal expenses and billions of dollars of exposure. How do I know that he doesn't know the difference between $50 million and $787 million? I can tell you this. In the book by Michael Wolff, that's going to be out very, very soon, he said, Michael Wolff reports that in a informal meeting in St. Bart's, one of these getaways for the rich and famous in the Caribbean in the winter of 2020 or 2022, he said to other colleagues that Trump was crazy, crazy, crazy. Then he used the F word a number of times around that. When somebody said, why don't you shut him down? Somebody else at that meeting said, it's all about the money. And that triggered Rupert Murdoch to say, yeah, he's going to cost me $50 million related to the Dominion lawsuit. Wrong. He cost you $788 million related. This alone should take him out of the running of being a fiduciary and a steward of other people's money related to the operation of that corporation. The fact that they so misjudged their exposure here. I mean, I know they were being led around by their chief legal officer, who's now been kicked out, Viet Dien, who had been in the Justice Department under George W. Bush, who had his own right-wing conservative law firm in Washington, had been the general counsel or the chief legal officer for Fox and Fox News from 2018 until he basically was kicked out last month. I mean, he was kicked out with a $30 million platinum parachute, but he was kicked out. And one of the reasons was that he kept giving bad advice to the board, the Fox board. He kept telling them about the Dominion lawsuit for $1.6 billion for defamation and the Smartmatic lawsuit, same thing, just different company, for $2.7 billion in New York. He kept telling the board, don't worry about it. We're going to win. We're going to win. Maybe not a trial, but definitely on appeal. If he thought that, he wasn't properly following the public reporting and legal AF analysis about what was happening day to day in Judge Eric Davis's courtroom in Delaware. Because Judge Eric Davis made it clear that they were losing. You can't read an opinion by the judge. Motion to dismiss denied, in scathing rhetoric, scathing opinions and findings that basically invited Dominion to bring a summary judgment motion and forget trial because they had a judge who was ready, willing, and able to rule against Fox News and Fox Corporation and say there was defamation for billions of dollars. And they did. And then in the summary judgment papers, they filed in the public record, and we got our hands on it and analyzed it on Legal AF, all of the emails and texts between Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Jeanine Pirro and Maria Bartiromo and Lou Dobbs, and then all of the emails and texts among the Fox Corporation people, the Murdochs, Lachlan, Rupert, the president of the news division. Even the general counsel was deposed about things that he said on election night, in which he said that Sean Hannity had crossed the line on election night by declaring to his audience, we'll never know the true and fair and accurate results of this election. To which the general counsel, with, I guess, a palm plant, said, Hannity's just gone over the line. Viet-Dien is also infamous because it's been reported that when Rupert Murdoch was deposed, and we know that transcript of those events, that Rupert Murdoch basically confessed under oath during the deposition that all of those people, Sean Hannity, Jeanine Pirro, Lou Dobbs, Maria Bartiromo, Tucker Carlson, that they all endorsed his words, Rupert Murdoch's words, not mine, endorsed the false narrative of an election fraud by Donald Trump. He admitted the case. And when he came out, the reporting is that this guy, Viet-Dien, the general counsel, said, "Hey, I think that went pretty well for you. You did great, boss." To which Rupert Murdoch turned to him and said, "I don't think the lawyers for Dominion would agree with you." So I was not surprised when I read last month that Viet-Dien had been sent packing and left the company completely. They kept him on a tether, a 2-year consulting agreement for $2 million a year because, they're not done with all these lawsuits. But for Rupert Murdoch to miscalculate by a magnitude of 12 or 1,400%, that's a lot. That's called somebody who's lost their fastball on how to manage other people's money. And that is the basis of this other set of lawsuits that have come out that should be quickly settled, brought by the Oregon Teachers Pension Fund, the New York Teachers Pension Fund, and all the other New York pension funds, totaling over $60 or $70 million of Fox stockholders. They have sued. They want all the money that got paid by the breach of fiduciary duties, the mismanagement, these kind of bad calls, thinking that an $800 million exposure or $1 billion exposure is only a $50 million exposure. They want it all back. They want the $787 million paid to Dominion back to the company. They want all the legal fees back to the company, and they want it taken out of the wallets of the board of directors, including the Murdoch family, and certain executives, including Rupert Murdoch. And so they're suing them in what's called a derivative suit, meaning I'm not looking for the money direct to me as a damage. I'm looking for the money to go back derivatively back to the company. And then the share price will, of course, increase by extension because there's more money in the company to do other proper corporate things. So in other words, give me back by $1 billion. And it comes from the board of directors. Now, they've got insurance stacks up the you-know-what to cover these kind of claims. I'm sure a company like Fox probably has an insurance stack of coverage for boards of directors and officers insurance, and other excess policies and other types of policies on top of it of well over $1 billion. So it's going to be the insurance companies that are going to try to push all the money into the center of the pot, and then these pension funds are going to go collect it. And they're suing basically under the argument that the Murdoch family doesn't know how to run their company any longer, and that their business model is premised on pumping out fake and defamatory information for ratings purposes, which was at the heart of the Dominion case. So it's another byproduct of the Dominion case. And there's another case that's still out there, $2.7 billion case brought by Smartmatic, the software company that was also defamed by Fox News. That's sitting still in New York State Supreme Court, and they've made it clear when the Dominion case settled that they're never going that the Dominion settlement was a floor, not a ceiling. They won't ever settle for less than $788 million, which brings us back to this new lawsuit by the pension funds, which is great. Whatever you pay out because of this bad business model and your mismanagement and breach of fiduciary duties, you pay us back through the insurance companies that are defending all of these individuals. That's how it happens. All the directors and officers who have been sued, it triggers insurance. The reason these plaintiffs' law firms represent pension funds is because they get their fees basically from the insurance companies. Yes, Fox News and Fox Corp is going to have to throw some money in as well, I'm sure. And some of these individuals who are really wealthy may also. But 70-80% of the money is going to come off from the insurance companies who are on the hook. And it's not a hard case to prove. Dominion basically proved the case in summary judgment, and they move on from there. But to hear the reporting by Michael Wolff which is the premise of this hot take, how it all started, is that Rupert Murdoch thought the Dominion case only had a $50 million exposure by relying on a out-of-touch Viet Dien General Counsel, who now has gotten fired along with others. I mean, I've been inside corporations helping to make decisions like this one in the chair occupied by Viet Dien. And I've never misled a board as badly as he has about the expectations of winning or losing a case and what could happen after it. I mean, that's called good judgment. And that's something that seems to be lacking at Fox Corporation at present. I'm going to continue to follow stories like this one, tie these disparate data points together and analyze and synthesize them for you one place, exclusively on the MeidasTouch network. I sit at that valuable real estate corner of law and politics. Wednesdays and Saturdays, join me on Legal AF, the leading podcast on law and politics, also on the MeidasTouch network. And if you like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs up. It helps with my ratings, keeps me on the air exclusively on the MeidasTouch network, so to speak. Until my next hot take, until the next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.